Hello everyone. We are discussing the VARC section of CAT 2020 paper that was given in slot 2. Let's understand how question number 26 can be solved. Now, question number 26 is a typical odd one out question, and let's focus on the instructions given first. 5 jumbled up sentences related to a topic are given below. 4 of them can be put together to form a coherent paragraph. Identify the odd one out and key in the number of the sentence as your answer. So when we have to solve these questions, what is the first step that we have to logically perform? We have to scan the passage and we have to try to find one underlying theme that connects the sentences, and we have to try and locate a flow of ideas because of which 4 can be connected and a coherent paragraph can be formed, and there will be one sentence which will be tangential probably, or which will fall out of this theme, and that's why that cannot be included in your coherent paragraph, and that we will identify as the odd one out, and that will be our answer. Let's scan the sentences one by one and try to understand what the sentences are talking about. Sentence number 1 says, the victim's trauma after assault rarely gets the attention that we lavish on the moment of damage that divided the survivor from a less encumbered past. Encumbered is something that is tied up, something which is not free. What this sentence says is, the victim's trauma after assault, that is the future life of the victim after the assault, does not get any attention, and all the attention is given to that moment of assault. Okay. Second one says, one thing we often do with narratives of sexual assault is sort their respective parties into different temporalities, time frame. It seems we are interested in perpetrators, the one who has committed the crime, right? Perpetrators' futures and victims' past. So while telling this story, while we create the narrative of sexual assault, what we do is we have different time frames. So we are interested in the perpetrators' futures and the victim's past. This is what this sentence says. Third one says, one result is that we don't have much of a vocabulary for what happens in victim's life after the painful past has been excavated, even when our shared language gestures towards the future, as the term survivor does. So though we've coined the word survivor, this survivor word shows that there is a future, and the victim's life unfolds in future, but still we do not have much vocabulary to describe that life because we've been focusing on the past. So can you see that in the first 3 sentences the underlying theme is how the trauma of the victim of a sexual assault after the act has been done is totally neglected, and the storytellers or people who are creating these narratives, they are focusing on victims' past. That is the underlying theme. Fourth one, even the most charitable questions asked about the victim seem to focus on the past in the pursuit of understanding or of corroboration of painful details. So they want a kind of validation of the painful details, and for that they're asking questions. Okay, and this sentence also has a connector, that is even. Fifth one says, as more and more stories of sexual assault have been made public in the last 2 years, very general feel to the statement, the genre of their telling has exploded. Crimes have a tendency to become not just stories but genres. So basically what this sentence is saying is, since there are lots of stories that have been leaked in public domain, there is a separate kind of literature that is being created. The genre has exploded. So there are innumerable stories about about sexual assaults because these cases are being made public, and this storytelling has become a trend. So this can be our opening sentence. Fifth one is our opening sentence, that how the stories of sexual assault have become a genre. They become a kind of literature. With the fifth, we can connect second one, because this is also talking about creating these narratives, telling these stories. So while we create these narratives, one thing we often do with narratives of sexual assault is we separate the lives or the respective parties in different temporalities, perpetrators futures and victims past. So this is the same theme, that is telling of stories related to sexual assault has become a genre. But while doing that, this is the problem that we create, that we are separating the temporalities. And from second, then we will go to first, because it talks about the same idea, how the moment is given lots of attention, but the trauma is ignored, not even acknowledged. And then from there, as a result, what happens is, since it receives least attention from the storytellers, that's why we do not have enough vocabulary to describe the trauma or victim's life after the painful past has been excavated. So that vocabulary is missing, though some words are there like survivor, but that vocabulary is missing. So the entire selection of these 4 sentences talks about how the sexual assaults are turned into stories and how they are described, and what are the problems that arise when we only focus on the victim's past. So there are no questions being asked anywhere. There is no corroboration of painful details that is required. This entire paragraph that we have tried to make is talking from the narrator's point of view, and that's why when we have this 4th sentence left, let's see if we can accommodate this sentence as well. First of all, this connector is creating a problem. Even the most charitable questions asked, that means there are harsh questions also somewhere that are being asked, and with those harsh questions, these charitable questions should make a contrast, but that is not happening in any of the 4 sentences. So there is no sentence which talks about corroboration of painful details. This 4th statement is something that may be utilized if we were talking about how a case is dealt with, or how victims are being harassed by asking harsh questions about their future or past, right? So since this is not related to storytelling, whereas the other 4 statements are related to telling of that story, and that's why this 4th one falls apart, and that's why 4th one will be your odd one out. We can mark 4th one as our answer in this question.